Good evening. It's nice to be with you. Yeah, so basically, we've been informed by our colleagues in Pyongyang, colleagues of 30 years, that from December on, tourism will resume to Samjeon, which is in the northeast part of Korea, near Paektu, Mount Paektu, the holy mountain of the whole Korean peninsula, and that we will be able to go in starting from December, including Western tourists. And they also added that there might extend east to Pyongyang, but it's not confirmed yet. However, Samjeon is confirmed indeed.
Well, it's been 4 years since these tours took place. Has business been significantly affected? How much interest is there in these tours?
Well, business has been affected indeed because we had no tourists to North Korea, and I would say that 90% of our travelers were on North Korea tours and just 10% on the rest of the destinations. However, we're being contacted continuously by the tourists that they want to travel. And as there was a general feeling in the tourism industry that it's going to open in April, since April on, we had a massive amount of people inquiring, and also we allowed people to sign up to tours, not to have confirmed bookings, just to express interest. And I would say that our tours, even though they are not confirmed, had almost as many tourists as before the pandemic. So if it opens up again, it's going to be a big blast for sure.
Where are these tourists coming from, and are there strict rules that apply to their visit?
Yeah, so basically most of our tourists are from the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and continental Europe as well. Unfortunately, American citizens cannot travel since 2017 because of the US state travel ban. And yes, it's a highly restricted tourism destination in a sense that you are not allowed to travel freely in the country. You always have to have 2 Korean local guides accompanying you if you exit the hotel. There are also some strict rules on photography. Also, you have to stick to an itinerary, what you agreed upon with the Korean partners in advance. So it's definitely not a free travel destination. But if you know where you can go and you may put together a perfect itinerary, then you can see a lot. And also, there are some chance always to open up new destinations within the country.
What has been the feedback of travellers who have visited North Korea? Where do they go? You mentioned specific areas. What do they do there?
Yeah, so basically, most of the tours go to Pyongyang and the DMZ, Kaesong, in the southern border. And then depending on the length of the tour, they also go to some rural places like Nampo on the west coast or Wonsan on the east coast, or even up to Mount Paektu, where tourism will resume this December. The feedback of the tourists is usually that their experience has been very mind-opening because it's completely different from what they expected based on their prior knowledge going to North Korea. But those information are mostly on secondary sources. And when you travel to North Korea, you have the primary source yourself. So most of the tourists come back with more questions than answers, for sure. But also, it's pretty mind-opening because, nothing is black and white. And the whole Korean experience goes against your preconceptions. But you also, see a lot of things what the media or defector, these testimonies report.
I'm curious to know, what's the food and hospitality like there?
Well, the food is pretty much the same as in South Korea. However, North Koreans tend to think that foreigners cannot handle the spiciness, for example, or they cannot eat with chopsticks. So I always have to demand more gochujang, like this paprika paste in my soup, or to have chopsticks and eat with them. The most typical food is Pyongyang cold noodles. That's something which was also served to President Moon when he met Kim Jong-un during 2018, when there was a thaw in inter-Korean relationships. There are a lot of side dishes, and then you almost always finish up with soup and rice. And sometimes they will serve you their understanding of Western food, which can be quite interesting. However, they have quite a few pizza restaurants in Pyongyang, so you can also have your your classic Western food like pizza or hamburger or even fried chicken.
Fascinating. Can you tell us, what do you think Pyongyang wants out of these tours? Why are they allowed to take place?
Well, there are certain debates within North Korean academia. You know, a lot of people say that it's for the money. I doubt it because I know how much money they receive, and that's good for nothing. And they also have to run the tourism infrastructure. They have to pay wages. They have to pay for the fuel and so on. So I think what they really want from these tourism, from Western tourists, is to put like hard currency into the economy. It's not about the amount, but it's the fact that it's hard currency. That's number one. And number two is it's a kind of part of a charm offensive. So basically, there's a belief that, if Westerners go and they see the real North Korea, then they're going to tell their experience outside, and maybe the perception will change later on.
Meanwhile, what are the risks when taking one of these tours? Should some travellers be cautious? What can you advise?
Well, obviously, if it's not a free country, so basically, if you make a mistake willingly, then the consequences are going to be very harsh.
What kind of mistake? What kind of mistakes are you referring to?
Like, for example, if you try to conduct missionary work in the country. They say that it's a freedom of religion, but it's the private matter of every individual, so you should not, spread religion. Or if you criticize the leaders of the country or the political system. So if you do it willingly, then the consequences are pretty harsh, detention and so on. However, if you follow the rules or just make genuine mistakes, like, taking a photo accidentally of something they don't want to, then there is not going to be any problem. They're just going to tell you that please, delete the photo, and then it's all forgotten. So if you stick to the rules and follow the rules, then I would say that's one of the safest or the most safe travel destinations out there. And these rules are not that hard to follow, to be honest. So I do believe that it's a safe travel destination as long as you stick to the rules, and most importantly, being respectful of the leadership of the country, the political system, and do not conduct any missionary work.
And you would have to be mindful of this if you're operating a business in North Korea. Can you tell us what are some of the challenges and also some of the ethical dilemmas that you might face?
Yeah, so we always say that we are a responsible travel company. So before the tour, all tourists have to go through a pre-tour briefing, even though if they have been to Korea before, because there are always changing rules. So there is a pre-tour briefing in Beijing in our office before the tour, which lasts about 60 minutes. And it's also about, telling the tourists about what to expect, what the rules to follow. And it's also time when they can, ask any questions about the tour. The ethical dilemmas, for me personally, I think traveling to North Korea is important because it encourages intercultural dialogue. Also, it helps local families in a sense that, the tour guides are receiving tips at the end of the day. And the general wage in North Korea is pretty low, and also the rations are not efficient or not adequate enough to survive, and the tips are contributing to the, the everyday life to the North Koreans. And also, I think it's important that it creates awareness. So awareness from the North Koreans about the outside world, and also awareness for Westerners about what's going on in North Korea. There's one thing I have ethical problems with, actually, and that's the mass games. This is one of the, this is one of the highlights of the North Korean travel industry when they are on, because I think that it's very demanding to the participants, especially to school children, and they can go on for months with like 1 day off a week. So of course, it's nothing is black and white as said, and there are some ethical concerns. But for me personally, this is the only one which is really hard to process. The other ones, I think there are more benefits than real ethical concerns.
Really interesting to talk, and thank you for opening up our eyes a little bit. Gergo Vaczi, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.